maybe I'm a little old-fashioned, but there's some things that I've heard recently that just seem to be ridiculous. Let me just throw some stuff out there. First, the disturbing is abortion at birth. That's disturbing. God calls that murder. He does. And let me throw this out there, right? So what you might not realize is that we will meet the unborn in heaven. We will meet them face to face. So we will meet all the unborn in heaven. That puts a whole new perspective on it, right? So that's a disturbing. Then it turns to the foolish. So I read this the other day that they accused some coal miners of being racist because after work they had black coal dust on their faces. That's foolish. From the foolish to the hilarious. Now it's against the law to have a plastic straw in California. And to the hilarious, what they're wanting now is they're wanting to outlaw cow farts. No, I'm serious, yeah. Cow farts. Cow flatulence. Because I guess it's air pollution. So me, because I'm this interesting personality, I'm wondering what the next step is. Some of y'all are in trouble, right? So anyway, here's why I'm saying a lot of kind of stuff that few of us will admit it, but don't we all struggle with competing thoughts in our head? These competing, sometimes ridiculous, sometimes hilarious voices. And so here's what I'm saying. So sometimes out here, we can become a house divided. Even in ourselves, right? And so we're confused, not quite sure what direction to go, this kind of stuff. Now, so for the last few weeks, we've been talking about life reset. So we've talked about this new season of change and how it affects our earning and working. We talked about interest and debt, saving and spending. We talked about being able to honor God and investing in what matters. See, the success of new life really depends on you being able to honor God with your tithe. It really does. And the success of your family is determined by your ability to manage all of these areas. You say, well, what's the big deal? See, now, businesses and customers, this is just numbers. But to people, these are heart issues. This stuff matters. Matter of fact, Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, Jesus put it this way: for where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. There's a lot of things connected to that, right? So it becomes an expression of what we care about really a lot. Now, what makes this a bigger issue, what makes it a big deal, is financial pressures are the number one cause of relational disintegration. In friendships and partnerships and in homes and in families, financial pressures are the number one cause of relationship destruction. Here's some stats that may surprise you. You ready? Matter of fact, I've had people say, well, I don't believe that. Whatever. Here's the stats, right? So, stat number one, the divorce rate in our nation has been at around 50% for several decades now. 50%. That means half the people in this room have been or will be affected by divorce. Okay? That's not too big of a deal, right? It's okay. And it's been said that it's the same statistic in the church, but that's probably not realistic, because in the church they're actually more likely to be married. Outside the church, not so much, because they live together. Those who choose to live together are 20 times more likely to separate. That's shocking. 20 times. Okay? And those who have previously been divorced or separated are 4 times more likely to separate. So here's the statistic that just absolutely rocked my world. This shocked me. For couples who regularly pray and read the Bible together, the divorce rate is 1%. See, we're trying to make a difference in our world. So for the couples that regularly pray and read the Bible together, your chances of living it out are way better, okay? So here's the thing. This is why every trick of the enemy, he's trying to divide us. And everything Jesus did was trying to unite us. So it's really a matter of that. So, matter of fact, Proverbs chapter 18 says, it's the fool that isolates himself against everybody else. And then Ecclesiastes chapter 4 says that we draw strength from one another. So it's really about a lifestyle that you want to choose. Okay, so with that in mind, it's no secret that I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. And it's no secret that Loretta is a Dallas Cowboys fan. See, I got this. She has tried for years to lure me over to the dark side. But the force is strong in this one. Okay? So you look and you go, wow, man, that's a house divided. No, it's just a house with differences. It's not the same thing. See, sometimes there's conflict because sometimes she's difficult, right? It's got to be her, right? Okay, but see, it's not a house divided, it's a house of differences. So now we gave you a vegetable seed today, right? This is a vegetable seed. And actually the truth is you can actually plant that and it will grow something. Now here's the thing. Your vegetable seed might not be the same as somebody else. Some of you guys might have one thing, some of you another. And so and it doesn't make us enemies, it simply makes us different. That's what we're talking about. So there's going to be something different than yours. So we're just different. So we're all designed for different outcomes. And the pressure comes in when we try to make people what we are. And so when we allow our differences to divide us, that's when our house can come crumbling down. Here's what Jesus said in Luke chapter 11, verse 17. I really want you to get this. Any kingdom, that's a system or group, divided against itself would be ruined. And a house divided against itself will fall. Any kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and a house divided against itself will surely fall. Okay? So now when our default response when we get challenged is to be defensive and point fingers at them, then what we're doing is we're tearing down our future. So the failure in the Garden of Eden, for a matter of fact, I'm just going to kind of go here a little bit. That failure was not so much just falling for temptation, but it was the fact that afterward, it was all the finger pointing that went on afterwards, right? So when the issues divide us, our house will really begin to crumble. Okay, so now we can allow the hustle of everyday life and the stuff that's going on, we can really allow that stuff to look at the people around us as interruptions rather than necessities. I just wonder, has this ever happened to you where trying to have a conversation, you're just like, my God, get it over with? You know? And so it's an interruption. But what we don't realize is that those people around us, those are necessities. See, God is much more concerned about us getting together and us getting along than he is in us getting where we want to go. That's God's plan. So, matter of fact, Romans chapter 8, verse 31 puts it this way. If God is for you, who can be against you? Okay? Now watch this. God is for you, but not just you. Right? So that's where I want to talk about this now. So there's stuff that kind of beats down our spirit and lets us become dull and kind of cold in our spirit. And so now what happens is that's when the moments and the appetites get the best of us. Everybody say appetites. Okay? Now you see this in a minute. So if we're moved mostly by appetites, then we're easy prey to those divisive differences because we try to compare and compete and that kind of stuff, right? And so now that takes us back to the Garden of Eden. So the great sin isn't really our failures, but it's our discontent with what we have. Because here's what God told Adam and Eve. You can eat of every tree in the garden except, right? Now what happened when their appetites got the best of them, what did they focus on? The except, right? Now think about this. I mean, there's got to be thousands of trees in the garden. And out of those thousands of trees, it's like, well, why can't I have that one? Right? So that's how it gets to us. Now, so that's what we're talking about, that somehow we've allowed the enemy to do to us what he did to Adam and Eve. We're allowing him to make our appetites and our personal choices make us a house divided. Let me just throw this out there. So even in food, see, some of you people like oatmeal. Yeah. Personally, I think the devil's going to make people eat oatmeal every morning in hell, every morning, with raisins in it. Some of you like pickled beets. How many of you guys like pickled beets? Dirty, rotten, filthy sinners. I'm just telling you. I think they're thoroughly disgusting. Matter of fact, I've had them bring me out a salad, and you know how they put the two slices on the top? And I said, you can take them off. No, it like stained it. I shun you. Right? Loretta likes okra. See, now you're mad at me. I just can't get past the idea. I don't care for menudo. I know too much. After you know what's in it, it's like, I just. Now, here's the deal. Now, that makes us different, but it doesn't make us enemies. You see what I'm saying? It's when the enemy allows us to point out the differences and where we're like, oh my God, this is terrible. No, we're just different. We don't have to be enemies. So my job isn't to get you to agree with what I believe. My job is to love you in spite of what you believe. That's my job. And I want to have this great relationship with you where I kind of help you just tiptoe through those minefields of life that are destructive to families and relationships. That's my job. I'm not trying to convince you to believe like I believe. I'm trying to convince you that there's a great life in front of you, right? And so we're going to have differences. We're going to have stuff. So sometimes the most important issues to us are our appetites. And we make choices out of those appetites. But it's our values, actually, that make the most difference. But we defend our appetites as if that's the most important thing, as if our future depends on it. And it really doesn't. So we are not defined by our appetites. We're not. See, most of us don't like the word no. Just turn to somebody, just tell them, no. No, do it in a real way. Do it in a real way. Say, hey, no. Okay? You ready? Ready? Hey. No. You get that? I'm going to get y'all. You ready? Ready? No. All right? See, actually nobody likes the word no. Did you know, this is hilarious, did you know that the greatest strength in overcoming life-controlling issues is the ability to be able to say no? Yet we hate that word. Most exercise programs have already failed as a New Year's resolution. Your 12-month membership to the gym, they get 11 months free. Because you were still on your week off that you started mid-January. Right? Did you know most diets have already failed because you're still on your cheat day that you've been on since last weekend? Yeah. Did you know that most budgets have already crashed because it was on sale? Right? See, the truth is, we don't like the word no. We don't like that. And we especially don't like the word no from ourselves. And so here's the deal. It's the appetites for our stuff, for status, and for our lives that we really mess ourselves up. See, appetites are never satisfied. That's how you know it's an appetite. It's never satisfied. People say, well, God made me this way. Okay. God made me to be a pickled beets hating person. I'm sorry, God just made me that way. God created me to despise oatmeal. God put me on this planet to revolt against fried okra. God's plan for my life was to warn everybody in the world about menudo. See, it's just an appetite. When we define ourselves by saying, well, God, no, He didn't. We acquire appetites along the way. And because it becomes an appetite, for us it's right and good. And then we try to make the whole world be like us. And when they're not, we get all butthurt. In the name of Jesus. Right? You guys with me? So here's the deal. I ate a good meal last night, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be hungry today. because it's an appetite, because it returns. So that's what I'm saying. When we define ourselves as who we are and what matters by these appetites, we shortchange ourselves and we actually destroy relationships along the way, right? So Eden's appetites, it was good for food, pleasing to the eye, and it was desirable for personal benefit. That's an appetite. See, our brains work this way. So once an appetite is stimulated, the appetite overestimates the satisfaction it will bring. Right? See, like you've been doing good on your diet, and somebody brings that out, and you go, oh. And see, and your brain says, do you have any idea how good that is? Look at that piece of pie or whatever it is, that looks so good. And you tell yourself this is going to be great. And then once you do it, it's not as satisfying as you thought it was going to be. Matter of fact, you're like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, right? See, now because they overestimate the satisfaction that it brings, every appetite always has one thing in common. Every appetite always ends with, I want more. See, that's how people get involved in drug addiction, because I want more. That's how our brains work, right? So now what makes this an issue for the people that we live day in and day out with is our appetites are what causes us to feel discontent with what we already have and start looking for something that we wish we had. And you can take that anywhere you want to. We focus our attention on what we don't have. See, your cell phone is fine, works great, until the new one comes out and your friend has it. Oh yeah, this one takes pictures. Right? See, then something that was fine yesterday, because of your appetite, because the appetite is stirred up, stimulated in you, something that was okay yesterday, all of a sudden today is not okay. See, that's exactly what the enemy used against Adam and Eve. Same thing. Same thing. And what happened was it caused them to be divided, right? Here's the way the book of James puts it. James chapter 1, verse 14. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9 puts it this way. Your heart is deceitful. You will lie to yourself. I'm only going to have one cheat day. You will lie to yourself. I'll quit smoking next week. You will lie to yourself. You see what I'm saying? So here's the thing. So the solution for a divided house is not winning an argument. The solution for a divided house is not being right. The solution for a divided house is living in grace. Living in grace. That means that whatever the differences are, you show grace in those differences because you realize that they're showing grace to you as well. Here's the fun thing. If the people that are around you are jacked up, the smart thing to do is realize that you're one of those people. So we show grace. I mean, that's really how it works, right? So see, grace builds a bridge across what the divide that seems to be impossible. Romans chapter 12, verse 3 puts it this way, and I'm trying to widen this thing down, right? So far, by the grace given to me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought to, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the measure of faith that God has given you. What that means is the grace that God has shown you, if you want relationships to work, the same grace God showed you, if you would learn to show that to others, your house could be reunited. You could pull life back together. Is this starting to make sense? See, when the serpent deceived Eve, all he had to do was just stand back and watch them tear their own house down, pointing fingers and making accusations, all that kind of stuff. See, sometimes we look at that story in the Garden of Eden and man, if Eve wouldn't have done that, man, this thing would be so much better. It was a woman's fault. You know it was a woman's fault. She said, no, it was a guy, man. He should have said no. Yeah, we always do that. It was the serpent. That's it, the serpent. He jacked it all up. See, that's really not the problem. The serpent merely awakened the appetite because of the discontent. He merely awakened the appetite. See, and what happened, what destroyed everything, is their response to failure was to hide in embarrassment and start pointing fingers and making accusations at each other. That's how you tear a house down. See, guilt covered what grace could have actually overcome. So here's, let me just put this out there. What if? What if instead of blaming each other, what if their response to God would have been, you're right, I'm sorry. I accept responsibility. I own my failure. Can I have another chance? I think God would have given them another chance. How about you? What do you think? All right, so they allowed God's no to stir up that discontent. See, we've all been given these seeds. You got your seed? Hold your seed up. Show me your seed. Got your seed? Some of you guys already lost it. You can't be trusted with nothing. It's here someplace. Different shapes, different futures, different looks, different destinies. Different, but they are all seeds of what should be. They're all a picture of what should be. All of these seeds will be deposited into the same soil that will produce a harvest that will feed the world. Did you know that? So we're all in it together. So here's the thing. We're going to experience seasons. Everybody say seasons. You're going to experience seasons of life where some seasons are just dry. We feel like nothing is happening, where it's just hard and it's just horrible. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from God for like forever. Now, dry seasons where the relationships are just strained. Some seasons are stormy, where you feel like there's chaos constantly and things are always tore up, and I don't know if we're ever going to get through this. Some seasons are good days. Some seasons are days when you think it can't get any worse. Don't throw away the ones that you don't yet understand. Don't throw away the seasons that you don't yet understand. Because we may not always understand. We may not always agree. But still, there's a seed in each of us that the storms of life will water. And time will grow. And the harvest will come if you don't lose heart. See, sometimes all we can do is stand. Now, I don't know about you, but here's how I'm wired. I like answers. Anybody else like answers? Something's going on, it's like, what the what? I don't understand. See, sometimes all you can do, some of you in a situation right now, that's all you can do. You're looking for me to say, hey, do this. Okay, if you want to do something, stand. Just stand there. And as long as you stand, and if all you can do is stand, could I encourage you to stand in the gap? Stand in the divide. Stand in the middle of a divided house. Stand in the middle of the stuff that you don't understand. See if you can link these things back together. Stand in between the chaos and God and be that link of grace that pulls life back together. Stand in that place and watch God do incredible things. Watch God pour out the rain. Watch God raise up the standard. Watch God do what only He can do. And you will be amazed at the power of God in your life. I don't simply believe God answers prayer. I'm a product of God answers prayer. I don't simply believe in God's promises. I'm a product of God's promises. I don't simply believe that He's a God of reconciliation and restoration. I am a story of reconciliation and restoration. You understand what I'm talking about? So that's why, in spite of the storm, in spite of the struggle, in spite of the division, I'm going to stand in the gap. I'm going to stand in between the divide of where things are falling apart and hold it back together until God shows up in a miraculous way. So let's finish today. Are you wrestling with discontent? Are you wrestling with discontent? If something captured your attention, you've lost sight of what you already have. Is your house divided? Is your life going in two different directions? You guys know what I'm talking about. Are you struggling with living in two different worlds? Just one sentence I want to say to you. Don't let your house fall. Don't let your house fall. Whose house is it anyway? Right? Joshua made this statement in Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. He says, choose for yourselves this day who you will serve. Choose. Then at the end of that same verse, he says it this way. But as for me and my household. As for me and my household. Come on, that's your line. As for me and my house. I'm not talking about just the people that live in your house. I'm not talking about the people that write down the same address. I'm not talking about the people that you're related to. I'm talking about, as for me, this house of God, this place of worship, this temple of the Holy Spirit. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's what I'm going to do. That's who I'm going to be. Nothing can separate me from the love of God. See, that's the division. So we're allowing the stuff that we don't have to separate us from the most important relationship. I want to get this out of the way, and I'm going to focus my attention on Jesus Christ and Him alone so I can pull this thing back together and be the man that He calls me to be. Could I get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for just a moment, please? You guys okay? If I'm a little bit over the top, I'm passionate about this idea. So I talk to people that are enticed by stuff that they don't have because they can't see what they do have. So while everybody's head is bowed, everybody's eyes are closed here for just a moment. Let me ask you those questions again. Are you wrestling with discontent? If you're wrestling with discontent, show me your hand. Say, Pastor Dave, it's me. I'm just really unhappy with my life right now. Come on, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Question number 2, is your house divided? Are you struggling back and forth between two issues? Show me your hand real quick. Come on, say, Pastor Dave, that's me. Thank you. Question number 3, you feel your life going in two different directions and it's crazy. You need to get solid. Show me your hand. Say, Pastor Dave, that's exactly where I'm at. Thank you. Last question. Are you struggling because you're living in two different worlds? And you're afraid and you're nervous, you don't understand. Show me your hand. Say, Pastor Dave, that's me. Thank you. Could y'all stand, please? Here's the cool thing about God. Maybe you don't understand this. It's the love of God that brings men to repent. A lot of things we're afraid. So when we're afraid, what we do is we do the same thing Adam and Eve did, where they hid out. And when it all come to a head, the best that they could do was just blame each other. God's not looking for somebody to pin the blame on. He's looking for somebody to show grace to. So if you're one of those ones that is wrestling today, stop wrestling and start nestling. Put yourself into the presence of God. Don't worry about fixing all the problems. Just work on this. Nothing can separate me from the love of God. That's huge. Now think about that. Nothing can separate me from the love of God. Anybody got high drama going on in your life? Anybody got conflict and chaos that you're facing right now? Right? Anybody living with difficult people? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Nothing can separate me from the love of God. If I can get this grace relationship right and realize I don't deserve anything that He gives me, then I realize that they don't have to deserve anything I give them. I'm going to show grace and allow God to heal that divide.